What if I told you that right now, there's a 40-second countdown happening somewhere in America? Every 40 seconds, another person's life changes forever. Their world goes dark, their words disappear, their memories fade. A stroke has just stolen everything they've worked for, everything they've built, everything they are. And the most terrifying part? It could have been prevented with something as simple as drinking a glass of water. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, Japan's legendary physician who lived to 105 and treated patients well into his hundreds, once observed that strokes don't strike randomly. They follow predictable patterns that we ignore at our peril. His clinical experience revealed that the body sends clear warning signals, but most people miss them because they're hidden in the most ordinary moments of our day. While most people worry about dramatic heart attacks, stroke moves like a silent predator. It doesn't announce itself with chest pain or obvious warnings. Instead, it builds its trap in the most innocent moments of your day. In those quiet morning minutes, when you're reaching for coffee, checking your phone, or lying in bed planning your day, your brain could be teetering on the edge of catastrophe. Here's what the medical establishment doesn't emphasize. Every single day, your morning routine is either protecting your brain or setting it up for destruction. Those first 60 minutes after you open your eyes represent the most dangerous window of your entire day. Your blood pressure is surging. Your blood is thick from overnight dehydration. Stress hormones are flooding your system, and your blood vessels are at their most vulnerable state. Up to 80% of strokes are completely preventable. Not with expensive medications or complex procedures, but with simple changes to what you do in those critical morning moments. The difference between a normal day and a life-altering stroke often comes down to 5 seemingly innocent habits that millions of people over 60 practice every morning without realizing they're playing Russian roulette with their brain. Today, you're going to discover exactly what these 5 habits are, why they're so deadly, and how changing them could save your life. Some will shock you because they seem so harmless. Others will make you want to change your routine immediately. By the end, you'll understand why the greatest threat to your brain isn't during stress or exertion. It's hiding in the quiet, everyday moments when you think you're perfectly safe. The science behind morning vulnerability. Before we unveil these 5 deadly habits, you need to understand why your morning routine has become a matter of life and death. Recent groundbreaking research reveals a staggering 49% increase in stroke risk between 6 a.m. and noon compared to any other time of day. This isn't coincidence. Your body is systematically preparing conditions that make stroke more likely with each passing minute after you wake up. What's happening inside your body during these morning hours is nothing short of a perfect storm. While you're sleeping around 4 a.m., your adrenal glands begin flooding your system with cortisol, the stress hormone designed to wake you up. Simultaneously, your blood pressure starts its dangerous climb upward. Meanwhile, your blood becomes a ticking time bomb, growing thicker and more viscous with each hour you go without consuming fluids. This creates what researchers call the cardiovascular perfect storm, a convergence of physiological changes that makes your brain more vulnerable to stroke than at any other time in the 24-hour cycle. When you add the wrong habits to this natural vulnerability, you transform a manageable risk into a catastrophic probability. Now, we're diving into the morning habits that may be putting your brain at risk. Number 1 is eye-opening, checking your phone. First thing, let's begin with the first deadly morning habit that involves rushing into mental and emotional stress before your brain has had adequate time to fully awaken and stabilize. This includes immediately checking email, reading news headlines, engaging in arguments, or diving straight into complex problem-solving the moment you open your eyes. While these activities might feel normal or even necessary, they're creating what amounts to a neurological emergency in a brain already precariously balanced on the edge of physiological stress. Remember that natural cortisol surge we discussed? It reaches its peak around 8 a.m. as part of your normal circadian rhythm. Simultaneously, blood pressure is climbing, heart rate is accelerating, and your sympathetic nervous system is ramping up to prepare you for the day. When you layer psychological stress on top of this existing biological stress response, you create what researchers call stress stacking, essentially layering one stress response on top of another until your system becomes overwhelmed. Extensive research demonstrates that individuals who experience high psychological stress during the first 3 hours after waking face significantly elevated stroke risk. The risk was highest among those over 60, reaching its peak during the first hour after waking when the brain's protective mechanisms are still coming online. Stress causes instant vasoconstriction throughout your circulatory system, rapidly raises blood pressure, increases blood clotting factors, and triggers inflammatory responses. In a brain already dealing with morning blood pressure surges and dehydration, this additional stress burden can push your cardiovascular system past its ability to compensate safely. Next, habit number 2, skipping water for coffee. Moving forward, we encounter the second most overlooked habit that's silently tripling stroke risk in people over 60. This habit is so common that it's practiced by millions every single day without a second thought. Reaching for coffee, tea, or any other beverage before drinking plain water. Most people rationalize this by thinking coffee is mostly water anyway. So, what's the difference? The difference could be between life and catastrophic disability. During the 6 to 8 hours you spend sleeping, your body continues performing essential functions while you consume absolutely no fluids. By morning, you're already in mild dehydration that has been building throughout the night. Research published in the European Journal of Neurology reveals something shocking. Morning dehydration was identified as a contributing factor in 48% of first-time ischemic strokes. This means nearly half of all first strokes could potentially be prevented simply by addressing hydration status in the morning hours. When you're dehydrated, your blood viscosity increases by up to 12.5%, essentially making your blood thicker and harder for your heart to pump through your circulatory system. For someone over 60, whose blood vessels have already lost youthful elasticity and may be narrowed by decades of wear, this increased workload becomes the trigger that can cause a blood clot to form or an artery to rupture. The Loma Linda University study that followed over 20,000 participants found that people who maintained adequate daily hydration had up to 53% lower stroke risk compared to those who remained chronically dehydrated. However, timing matters just as much as quantity. When you reach for that first cup of coffee without rehydrating your blood, you're adding a powerful stimulant to an already stressed cardiovascular system. Caffeine causes vasoconstriction at precisely the moment when vessels need to expand to accommodate thicker blood. Next, habit number 3, taking pills without food or water. Progressing to our third deadly habit, we arrive at what represents a deadly combination of multiple risk factors with one additional element that multiplies risk exponentially. This involves taking morning medications without adequate food or water, particularly if you're on blood pressure medications, diabetes drugs, or diuretics. This habit is so universally common among seniors that it's practically considered normal, yet it represents the perfect storm of stroke risk factors occurring simultaneously. Here's the devastating sequence. You wake up already dehydrated and potentially hypoglycemic. Your blood pressure is naturally surging due to circadian rhythms. You take multiple medications with minimal water on an empty stomach, then remain sedentary while these powerful drugs take effect. Blood pressure medications, when taken in a dehydrated state, can cause dramatic and dangerous drops in blood pressure that severely reduce blood flow to your brain. Diabetes medications can significantly worsen morning hypoglycemia, creating glucose shortage that triggers stress hormone floods. Diuretics can further worsen your already dehydrated state. All these effects become amplified when you're not moving because physical activity helps regulate how medications are absorbed and distributed throughout your body. Research from specialized stroke prevention units reveals that medication-related strokes in people over 60 occur most frequently during the first 2 hours after taking morning medications, with highest risk occurring when medications are taken without adequate hydration or food. The risk becomes particularly acute in people taking multiple medications simultaneously. Next, habit number 4, staying still. Too long, continuing our examination, we encounter the 4th deadly morning habit that feels completely natural, yet represents one of the most dangerous things you can do after age 60. This involves remaining physically still for extended periods after waking. Those seemingly peaceful moments when you check your phone, read news, or simply lie in bed mentally planning your day. Picture your typical morning. Your alarm goes off, you reach for your phone, maybe scroll through messages for 20, 30, or even 45 minutes before your body truly begins moving. This behavior, which appears harmless, is actually creating a dangerous vascular bottleneck that significantly increases stroke risk. After spending hours horizontally, blood naturally pools in your lower extremities due to gravity and reduced circulation. When you remain stationary for extended periods after waking, this blood pooling continues, reducing the volume returning to your heart and, more critically, reducing blood flow reaching your brain. Research published in Circulation tracked over 8,000 adults over age 60 and discovered that those who spent more than 9 hours per day sedentary had double the stroke risk compared to more active individuals. Most concerning was the finding that timing of stillness mattered more than total sedentary time accumulated throughout the day. For people over 60, aging affects venous return, your circulatory system's ability to push blood back up to your heart against gravity. Without regular muscle contractions to help pump blood upward through veins, blood tends to stagnate in legs and lower body. If a small blood clot has formed overnight, those first movements after prolonged stillness can potentially dislodge it and send it traveling toward your brain. Next, habit number 5, skipping breakfast. Finally, we examine the 5th morning habit that dramatically increases stroke risk: skipping breakfast entirely, or delaying your first meal too long into morning hours. This might seem counterintuitive, especially if you practice intermittent fasting or don't feel hungry when you wake up. However, for people over 60, going too long without eating in the morning creates dangerous hypoglycemia that can serve as a direct stroke trigger. Your brain is remarkably energy-hungry, consuming approximately 20% of your daily glucose supply, despite representing only 2% of total body weight. Unlike other organs that can store energy, your brain operates like a high-performance engine, depending on constant, steady glucose supply from your bloodstream. When you wake up, you've already been fasting for 8 to 12 hours. Your brain's glucose reserves are essentially depleted, depending entirely on what you provide through food intake to maintain optimal function. After age 60, your body's ability to maintain stable blood sugar becomes less reliable and more unpredictable. The landmark Harvard study that followed nearly 27,000 men over 16 years found that those who routinely skipped breakfast had a 27% higher risk of heart attack or death from coronary heart disease. When researchers examined stroke risk specifically, breakfast skippers were more than 3 times as likely to die from stroke compared to those who ate breakfast regularly. The physiological mechanism behind this increased risk involves several dangerous cascades. When your brain doesn't receive adequate glucose, blood vessels can go into spasm, blood pressure can drop suddenly, and heart rhythm can become irregular. Most dangerously, your brain interprets this glucose shortage as an emergency and sends out distress signals, causing massive floods of stress hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline. The simple morning protocol. Fortunately, the solution to these 5 deadly habits doesn't require a complete lifestyle overhaul or expensive interventions. Instead, implementing a strategic, evidence-based morning routine can reduce your stroke risk by up to 70%, according to comprehensive prevention studies. Step 1 involves immediate hydration the moment you wake up. Before checking your phone, before getting out of bed, drink 1 full glass of room-temperature water. This immediately begins reversing overnight dehydration and starts reducing dangerous blood viscosity. Step 2 requires beginning gentle movement while you're still lying down through simple ankle circles, toe flexes, and shoulder rolls. Step 3 involves transitioning slowly to upright positions by sitting up gradually, pausing to allow your cardiovascular system to adjust, then standing slowly and walking rather than immediately sitting down. Step 4 requires fueling your brain with something small but substantial: a hard-boiled egg, Greek yogurt, nuts, or a banana. Step 5 involves taking medications mindfully with a full glass of water and some food in your stomach, then continuing gentle movement for at least 10 to 15 minutes afterward. Step 6 requires creating a stress buffer by giving your brain 10 to 15 minutes to fully wake up before checking email or engaging in potentially stressful activities. Finally, Step 7 involves beginning your day with gentle movement, such as walking around your house or doing light stretches. Next, prevention versus treatment. Understanding the vast difference between preventing a stroke and treating one provides crucial motivation for implementing these morning changes. Once a stroke occurs, even with the most advanced medical care available today, damage is often permanent and irreversible. Brain cells don't regenerate like other cells in your body. During an active stroke, the average brain loses 1.9 million brain cells every minute. However, stroke prevention can be nearly 100% effective when implemented correctly. The 2024 American Heart Association guidelines state that up to 80% of strokes are preventable through lifestyle modifications, with morning routine changes representing some of the most powerful interventions available. Average stroke treatment cost in the United States exceeds $150,000 per patient, not including ongoing rehabilitation and long-term care costs. Lifetime costs often exceed $500,000 when you factor in lost independence, assisted living needs, and ongoing medical care. Compare that staggering financial burden to implementing these morning habit changes. Essentially, zero cost for potentially life-saving protection. Next, your daily opportunity. Every single morning presents you with a fresh opportunity to protect your brain and reduce stroke risk. Unlike many health interventions that require weeks or months to demonstrate measurable benefits, these morning changes begin working immediately. Your blood becomes less viscous within minutes of proper hydration. Your circulation improves within seconds of beginning movement. Your blood sugar stabilizes within 15 to 30 minutes of eating appropriate foods. This approach isn't about achieving perfection or making dramatic lifestyle changes overnight. Instead, it's about making consistent progress by starting with one change and gradually adding others as they become habitual. Small, consistent changes compound over time to create dramatic reductions in stroke risk. Stroke is not an inevitable consequence of aging, despite what many people believe. Instead, it's largely a preventable result of how we treat our bodies, particularly during those vulnerable morning hours when our brains are most at risk. The 5 habits we've examined: checking your phone first thing, skipping water for coffee, taking pills without food or water, staying still too long, and skipping breakfast, work together to compound your stroke risk exponentially. But now you possess the knowledge and tools to protect yourself effectively. You understand exactly why mornings represent the most dangerous time for your brain, what specific habits dramatically increase your risk, and precisely how to modify your routine to achieve dramatic improvements in your long-term health outcomes. Your brain is counting on you to implement these life-saving changes. Your family is depending on you to stay healthy and independent for years to come. Most importantly, you owe it to yourself to do everything within your power to protect the precious organ that makes you uniquely who you are. The choice is entirely yours, and it starts tomorrow morning. Will you wake up and mindlessly repeat the same potentially dangerous routine you've followed for years? Or will you take control of your health, implement these evidence-based changes, and give your brain the protection and care it deserves? Your future self, the one who remains sharp, independent, and stroke-free at 80, 90, or beyond, is hoping you'll choose wisely. Don't wait for a wake-up call that might come too late. Start tomorrow morning and give yourself the gift of a stroke-free future. If this information has opened your eyes to the hidden dangers lurking in your morning routine, you're joining thousands of people over 60 who are discovering that small changes can lead to life-changing results. Subscribe to our channel for more evidence-based health strategies specifically designed for people over 60. And hit the notification bell so you never miss our latest research updates and practical health tips. Share this video with someone you care about who's over 60, because this information could literally save their life. And sharing takes just seconds of your time. Leave a comment below telling us which of these 5 habits you're planning to change first. Your commitment in the comments creates accountability and might inspire others to take action too. Remember that every morning represents a new opportunity to protect your brain and secure your future. Make tomorrow morning the first day of your stroke-free future.